In our daily interactions, we often encounter barriers that inadvertently separate us from one another. For individuals with disabilities, these barriers can be insurmountable and hinder their full participation in society. But what if we told you that many of these barriers are unintentional, simply born out of a lack of awareness rather than malice? That's where we come in. Welcome to our journey of understanding and breaking down barriers for people with disabilities. By shedding light on these barriers, we empower ourselves to take action and create meaningful change.
Most impactful to me has been the ability to access medical offices. I got to get out of my chair, and in order to do that safely, really the best use is of a patient lift or a Hoyer lift. And most places do not have the ability to provide that, and it's very frustrating. What does the world look like when we break down that barrier? Possibly less anxiety, where I don't have to be extremely concerned about, does this place have the ability to handle my needs?
The most impactful barrier that I've experienced is attitudinal barriers. By looking at a person with a disability and just assuming that they are not capable of taking care of themselves or doing any activities without assistance.
The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990. Here we are 34 years later, and disabled people are feeling left out for various access reasons. There are physical accessibility barriers in terms of people who are wheelchair users or folks who use other mobility aids cannot get in. And I don't mean to speak on behalf of all disabled people, but I think I can accurately say we expect progress, not perfection.
Our facilities weren't up to par. Once that was brought to our attention, we took it very seriously, and we are going to be making adaptations to make sure that all our facilities are accessible.
Many organizations aren't aware of deaf and hard of hearing people, and they don't really understand what the interpreter means. And it's not only for deaf people, it's for hearing people also. It's the deaf and hearing people need to communicate with each other, and it's about equal access for both. So those challenges still continue to this day, and I see the discrimination happening. Inside, it feels frustrating, it's emotional, it's feeling like I don't have freedom to communicate. I look at the hearing world and hearing people, and they're free and they have opportunities, and I feel like mine are very limited. And how do I advance? I can't. I feel like there are so many restrictions and barriers, and it's key, the key to that is the communication. In the hearing world, that's a large population. People communicate, and deaf people, we're small. We're a small group, but we're lost. Our potential is limited by this. Wow, I wish if I could envision that, where there were no barriers. Everyone, every person, if they had an understanding of what it meant to be human, that we're all the same. I think we can improve the future so much by making those changes and have more hopes for the future.
It's 2024, and yet I feel left out. I feel like I am on the sidelines because I don't have the same information as sighted people. How do we break down that barrier? Well, like most barriers in the disability space, it has to do with attitudes. And the majority of the barrier cases, it really does have to do with education. Telling people how to create accessible content. Because I really feel this is not done maliciously. But here's the thing, as disabled people, we are responsible for breaking down the barriers we face. What would the world look like without the digital accessibility barrier? It would be more accessible. I would be able to access more information on websites. I would be able to be more effective in my job. I would be able to be a more informed person about what's happening in my friends and family's lives. We live in a very sighted, visual world, which, as blind people, I'm sorry, that is something we need to accept, embrace, educate, advocate.
I went 29 years on this planet with my best friend. And because of the stigma, it was wiped in a heartbeat. Most of the people that I come in contact with don't know what a peer is. A peer is a person with lived experience who has maybe been in your shoes, maybe been close to in your shoes. If I could have set my brother up with a peer, I think things could have been very different. I'm here to help as many people as I can. In any way that I can. If you need to talk, let's talk. If you need Narcan, no questions asked. If you need a resource, I got it.
Let us remember that change begins with each and every one of us. Through education, self-awareness, and advocacy, we have the power to break down barriers and create a more inclusive world for all people. Let's commit ourselves to continually improving, to challenging our own assumptions, and to championing the rights and dignity of individuals with disabilities.